Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to our Patreon exclusive extra episode. What are we calling these things? On a side note.
I don't know. No, it's a side notes. That's fine.
A side note.
Yeah. Nailed it in one.
A side note.
I love it when I stumble upon things. So this is our first side note exclusively for our lovely Patreon members. And this is the Love of Pages podcast. And we're just here to talk about some of our favorite reads from recent. Something that just kind of struck us that we want to share. Jessica and I are doing cocktails, I believe.
Yes.
I made a drink. It's got this fun, like, green hue.
Mine has a fun blood red hue.
Interesting.
So, probably could have made this for when we were reading Scythe.
Okay.
Pretty good. So, Jessica, what is your cocktail?
I had pomegranate juice and cucumber lime juice in the fridge, so I put that together with some gin and some triple sec and called it a martini. And it worked.
I like it. So I experimented as well because the last time I was up in Phoenix, I went to Total Wine because that's a thing I do when I go to Phoenix since we don't have one here in Yuma. And I kind of went a little crazy in the bitters aisle with all the fun mix-in things. And I picked up mint bitters.
Ooh.
So I was like researching, trying to come up with where to use the mint bitters. And it was basically like, oh, well, you can do a mint julep with it, or you need to buy this special Greek alcohol, Mastia?
Mastia.
Which is also can be done in a powdered root. I have no idea. But you need this special alcohol to make any of these other minty drinks. And I'm like, well, I'll have that. And I'm pretty positive that our local liquor store not going to have that.
You don't think that Sunshine Market is going to have this?
I don't think so. I don't even think House of Beverage will have this. But so what I did was I was like, okay, well, where else do I use bitters? And I'm like, well, my old fashions always call for Anacostia bitters. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wonder if I could do it with mint bitters. And it's got this, so it does have a weird green hue, not gonna lie. Like,
yeah,
it gives it it smells, the smell of the mint bitters, not super pleasant. Kind of smells a little bit like a Rumpelstiltskin shot, if you guys ever done those.
Nope.
The kind of overly minty toothpaste, but it actually
had a name? Oh, okay.
It does.
I just thought it was called toothpaste. I've not had it myself, but
drinking it has a lovely mint, almost pepperminty taste to it. So it's kind of fun.
I like the idea of this.
Thank you.
It's not just for the whole name thing. Minty things, things that are like black licorice kind of flavors. Mm-hmm. I like those.
See, I don't tend to like black licorice, but I do love mint. Don't ask me why.
I do love, same. I love mint, not black licorice. Not
in the future. I still have to try drinking alcohol with Andy for that stuff.
Oh, right.
So I think I've decided that I'm gonna have. I think it's Ouzo is the one. Is that the name?
You are just going for broke.
Because I've smelled that and it smells like black licorice. And like cloves
if you want traditional black licorice, you've also got Jägermeister.
That's what everyone says, but that stuff smells disgusting.
But it tastes like black licorice.
Yeah.
I know, but you guys both hate black licorice.
And I hate Jägermeister.
Okay.
I actually really like black licorice. But I did have moonshine before I had the Jägermeister at that time, so maybe my taste buds were a little whack.
Killed all your taste buds.
But it's fine. For what I'm drinking tonight, though, I have this brand new brand of energy drink that I have never had before. They make very pretty cans.
They do make very pretty cans.
And that got my attention. So I bought it.
Is there a theme we see here?
Wait, no. Like pretty outsides. I'm sold. This is all it takes for me.
Is that the line you used with Naima?
It was slightly more verbose, but I mean, pretty much.
So excellent. So that's kind of what we're drinking today. Yeah, we'll see if I can come up with any other fun things, because the other bitters that I also got a smoked chili bitter.
Huh.
Well, hello. Okay.
It's just a lot of fun.
I feel like just adding that to whiskey would make it good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
It was also very good, speaking of Naima, it was also very good in the margaritas we made. Gave it a, instead of like the jalapeno that I like, it has a real bite to it. This gives it a nice, like, smoke heat to it.
Ooh.
It's very tasty.
Cool.
You cultured people.
I think they have another word for us, and it's not so nice. Usually requires group meetings.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that here.
Yeah. We do introduce ourselves every time we come to this meeting.
This is
and
true.
Then talk about our week. Just say it.
We do, don't we? Ooh.
But no. What? Who is going to lead the charge on this one to tell people about their week? Or not the week. It's recent, not just a week, right?
Yeah, no. Because like time is imaginary in the world of COVID.
Yeah.
Like, I am having a real hard time with the fact that it's now September.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this. And
June. Still June.
I have a hard time remembering the fact that I did go to LA for my birthday this year for a con. Like, that was this year. That was in February.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems like it was like 3 years ago. But at the same time, I'm also like, but it's September in 2020. And like, that seems real fast. Because I'm also like, I got engaged in January. And I feel like that's been forever. But then that's also been like no time at all.
Mm-hmm. No, only 2 things have told me the passage of time. Calendars. Well, I guess 3. Mm-hmm. Calendars. The fact that at the beginning of each month I have to pay rent. And then the third thing being my waistline. Because that has changed. So
yeah, I definitely gained the COVID-19.
It's a really good name for that.
But it's the truth.
No, yeah, the Corona Poundus.
I lost weight.
No, like honestly, it's gotta come from somewhere.
Yeah,
everything in the universe. There's only so much matter in the universe, and it can only move and shift. It can't be created out of nothing. So
can I pass mine on to somebody else? Like, who can I pass it to? What small child needs a growth spurt?
Yeah, because I've got like a full toddler in the trunk right now.
Right?
I've been waiting like 15 years for my growth spurt. Promise.
There is no more hope for us. We are done.
Damn.
We're done.
So you guys are fine. Don't you worry.
The only thing now is heels. That's it. That's all we get.
I do have some nice heels.
Up until the point that our ankles give out and then we have to stop wearing heels. But that's in the future. That's future us's problem.
Yeah, you cross that bridge when you come to it.
But yeah, so that's been my recent week, because I'm like, it's September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's September. Doing paperwork at work today was like, no, this isn't right. This is wrong.
Starting to have the conversations about like, what's Thanksgiving gonna look like this year? What's Christmas gonna look like this year? What are our plans?
Yeah,
how do we make this work?
Can we plan them?
It's like, oh, it's that time of the year already. Like, we got to start thinking about these things.
Yeah. And we have no idea what's going to happen in the next month.
It's true.
Magic. It's just going to all magically go away. Haven't you been listening to the news? It's just going to disappear.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think if anything, that we are lucky in this one. Most of us, I think, would spend a lot of our time inside the first place and with our nose in books. So we're lucky. Think of all those people who don't read books.
True.
It's valid. So how's everybody else's recent week been?
A blur. A big blur. Just...
It's been really good for me personally. Like I got to listen to a lot of new narrative fiction podcasts and different things like that. So I've been pretty happy, honestly.
I've just been practicing drawing and watercoloring, and then watching shows, and then reading books, and then writing a bit, and then just. I'm not even busy with things that like I have to do. I am forcing myself to be busy with creative things for some reason.
You know.
Oh, and downloading indie games and like finishing them in like 5 hours.
Grease is short.
It is short. God, I want it to be so much longer. I just might play it again. I didn't complete it, so like there were things I've missed because apparently there's a secret ending. So I definitely could play it again and try to complete it. But
well, I can't speak to the indie games, but the creative things are things you do have to do because they are things Jessica needs to do for Jessica's sanity.
It is true. It is
so, and sanity is important.
That's what they say.
Well, I mean, I got yelled at about it today at work, so you know.
About sanity?
About sanity, yeah. No, it was actually rather entertaining. Some guy was trying to. So you have to get your OSHA posters and all of the U.S. Labor Department compliance stuff, and then he was talking to me about their new digital platform product about creating proper procedures to deal with mental health. And all the new COVID stuff. And so he was trying to sell me this thing, but he was kind of just yelling at me. So I'm like, can you not hear yourself?
To be fair, whenever I see the jobs listed for being a person who's selling the OSHA posters, that sounds like the right kind of person who would have gone for that job.
So I'm like, I just give me my posters. I wrote you the check. Just give me my posters. Leave me alone.
Complete my transaction.
So, but yeah, no, so I got yelled at today about good mental sanity, which seems a little counterproductive, but that's okay. I found it highly entertaining.
Because they're yelling at somebody.
They're trying to convince themselves.
You need to have good mental health. You need it. You have to have it. I'm like this.
Do we need to talk about your mental health right now? Because it really feels like
a capital Y situation pointed inwards.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah. So mental health is very important. I learned that today. So, all right. Shall we jump into our books?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Not it.
Okay.
That sounds like you.
Guess it. Huzzah. No. So I recently managed to pick up, it's been out for a bit, but I recently picked up in the last few months Dan Brown's most recent book, Origin, which is the latest in the Robert Langdon series. So most everybody's probably familiar with Angels and Demon and the Da Vinci Code. Probably more the movies than the books, which do have a very different feel to them. There's quite a bit of distinction. The storyline is pretty close to accurate, but the characterization of the characters of Robert Langdon and company are vastly different. So in this one, so you have Angels and Demons, you have the Da Vinci Code, you have Inferno, you have, I'm missing one of them, and then Origins. And in each one, they're all dealing with slightly different cataclysmic events, but they all explore kind of the interplay of science and religion and how they kind of play into each other and how they tend to eclipse each other. And so Origin, the premise of this particular book is one of Robert's former students became the next Stephen Hawking, but on mega scale. So he became, a multi-billionaire tech guru who also discovered multiple science and, inventions and discoveries and won Nobel Prizes. And he invites Robert to a speech he's going to give, in which he talks about the fact that he, using a computer algorithm, can get to point 0 on our timeline. So everybody talks about, how things go from near 0 and how we all develop, but nobody could ever get to 0. Mm-hmm. So he figured out how to get to 0. So where we came from. So the point of conception of the whole universe.
So and the Big Bang, or like right before the Big Bang?
Right before the Big Bang. So like the true beginning. And then he took that same algorithm and extrapolated out basically to show where we were going.
Okay.
And as Robert arrives, which is common in the Langdon series, there's some sort of catastrophe that occurs.
As Robert arrives, the catastrophe happens.
Pretty much. I mean, think about the Da Vinci Code. Think about Angels and Demons.
I know.
When there's catastrophes involved.
Yeah.
So he arrives, and his pupil ends up shot just before he can download and give his speech. And he's assisted by his AI. So the student is assisted by his AI computer, Winston, who then helps Robert and associate, who is apparently the Princess of Spain.
Princess of Spain?
Yeah, you just like the company he keeps, man.
As they try to get the presentation unlocked and released. And they basically have 12 hours, and they're fighting against religious sects, they're fighting against royal guards, they're fighting against part of the science community. And so back and forth, and the twists and turns, and then, getting the presentation released, and what do those findings now mean? Mm-hmm. So there are some big twists and turns. I very much like the Robert Langdon series because I like how it explores that interplay between how do you be a modern intellectual and still understand the value of religious beliefs, or where we came from, or those kinds of questions, and how they were dealt with in religious contexts, and how they've potentially been twisted or forgotten meanings over time, and those kinds of things. Because obviously Robert Langdon, for those who aren't familiar with the series, he is a Harvard professor of symbology. He's supposed to be the world's most renowned symbologist. So talking about how, yes, this was a symbol for the devil, but prior to that, it was Poseidon's Triton. Mm-hmm. So context matters, and symbols mean different things depending on who you are and where you are in time, and all those good things. So I like it because it's got a lot of twists and turns, and I think it's a very poignant question about, so a lot of times in science and in technology, we tend to mostly just ask, can we do it? Can it be done? And we rarely ask, at least at the beginning, should it be done? Until it's too late. And we're like, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw recently, which I didn't check to see if it was true or not, that they've possibly cloned a T-Rex embryo in a chicken egg or something.
Told us how this was going to go.
And I really went, do we need to not know what, like, not this year. Not this year. Just, can we not? Can you just...
No, we keep doing it. We released bacteria that was stuck in permafrost. That was however many millions of years old.
Right, I forgot. Did they release it?
Huh?
I heard they found it. I didn't realize it was released.
No, as far as like we pulled it back up. It was fine for it to stay elsewhere, guys. It was fine.
We could have just left it alone.
Yeah.
Nope, we don't do that. So that's Dan Brown's latest origin book. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I do love. I love the things that go into things that change over time, the meaning of so many different things. Because there's so many examples of it. Even just this last time when we were podcasting for the Geeks Watch, there was a time when John called someone a Nimrod, and he used it in the like negative sense.
Yeah.
Which is not what that is. Nimrod, like for anyone who's like a big, like a like biblical kind of person, or any like older history kind of things, Nimrod was a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Like for things like he was a fantastic marksman.
Mhm.
But then they used Nimrod as like a sarcastic insult in an old Bugs Bunny cartoon of all things. And so now people are like, wow, way to go, Nimrod. And that's just the way people think of that word now because of one cartoon. It's crazy.
No, exactly. I mean, and that's frequently the case with all sorts of symbols that used to have different meanings and then get co-opted.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think the best line I ever heard was, your personal belief on what a symbol means is overridden by what history has determined its meaning to be.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's a very interesting and poignant distinction. Like,
Mhm.
doesn't really matter what you think this symbol means. What matters is what history has determined it to state to the general public.
Mhm. Especially with the idea of a symbol in general. That's what that is. It's emblematic of something.
Correct. So,
I mean, history or just how cultural changes in general, because I mean, look at what happened to the, I can't remember the name, swastika. There you go. I mean, that has turned into a bad symbol, and history has written it now as a bad symbol, even though before that it was
It's good luck.
A good luck symbol.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. There, in San Francisco, I was going past a really old building, and it's emblazoned on the fence in the previous thing where it's turned the opposite direction. It's mirrored.
Yeah.
And I was going past, and I like stopped.
I
was like, no, old building. Okay.
Yeah, there's a
going.
bridge over near, I want to say Martinez Lake. There's a bridge with swastikas on it too, on the side.
Yeah,
it's an old bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all engraved to the side. Yeah.
Goodness. But did you have another book that you were going to talk about that you had?
No, that's my pick for tonight because I thought we were only doing one. So
okay, well, for this one, if anyone came to you and said, "Listen, I get to buy one book this month. Should I start the Dan Brown series?"
Yes, so long as you're willing to commit your next several months purchase. Because it's definitely one of those that you kind of get hooked in. While they're all standalone books, you could jump right in, just read this one, not read any of the others, and you would understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You do get kind of attached to the Robert Langdon character and his process of how he does things. I will say that I like the series as it progresses more. I think my least favorite is Angels and Demons, which is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And they get progressively better. And you deal with the church, you deal with the Illuminati, you deal with the Freemasons, you deal with all of these different interests. But Stephen doesn't sound... Stephen's like, no.
No, I was smiling because when you said Freemason, she did like a little jig thing. Yeah.
I don't know why.
No. I like the idea of all of these things in general. Like honestly, I enjoyed National Treasure because I had already enjoyed like that pre-existing character.
Yep. But so no, yeah, I would highly recommend it, but just be forewarned, it is a pseudo series. It's I don't even know what you would call this because it's not a series in the sense that the storyline progresses, but it's an anthology, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose an anthology, maybe.
Are they not connected? Like they don't reference it, like past
They
things?
don't reference each other really at all.
Huh.
It's just the same main character.
Interesting. Okay.
There probably is a word for that, but I don't know what it is.
I mean, anthology might work.
Anthology might work.
I mean, anthology is the only one that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a captivating anthology. And what's really nice is they're pretty easy reads. Things don't get bogged down very much. There's enough description because you need to get into the symbology of things, but it doesn't tend to overload the description, and things tend to move pretty quickly throughout the book, so you don't have a lot of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay,
there you go. Yeah, about the only critique I would have is that not a lot of time is spent on developing the side characters as much as I would like in certain instances, because there's almost always somebody who is helping Robert Langdon, and I oftentimes feel like they tend to get a little lost as to why they're there and what they're really, what their motives are. I don't feel like they end up really fully developed. So that would be my only critique.
Okay. I can understand that one, especially if they're introducing a whole host of new side characters every book. Correct.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's Dan Brown, Origin. Who's next?
How dare you? I should have been ahead. I should have known. Okay. So,
Stephen, you do realize you will have to go.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. At some point in time.
This one's to be last. Okay. So the book I've actually read like 2 months ago, and I read it through a subscription series that I do called Once Upon a Book Club, in which they give you once a month, they give you a book as well as several gifts, and the gifts are labeled with page numbers. They're wrapped up, labeled with page numbers. And so once you get to a certain page number, specifically a certain sentence, it'll tell you, open your gift, and you open a gift as you read it. And it always deals with whatever's going on in that sentence or paragraph. Totally recommend this subscription box. It's fun. And you get a lot of cute
No, we aren't getting kickbacks for it.
Oh, yeah, we're not. It's not. This is literally free advertising. I've started this like a few months ago. This was the second book that I got, which I almost didn't get this one. I just forgot to cancel my subscription because I was not interested in it. But it's called How the Penguins Saved Veronica by Hazel Priori or Prior. Could be Prior.
Priori? Oh, no, Prior. Definitely.
Prior. Yeah, it's Prior. Okay. But and I wasn't gonna get it because I'm very picky on fiction that I read, especially adult fiction that I read, and especially just adult regular. Like I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that. I don't read a lot of normal fiction. And this one was about an 85-year-old woman who just decides to go to Antarctica. And it just seemed like, well, that's just interesting. But I ended up forgetting to lose my subscription or to not do the subscription for that month. I ended up getting the book, and I read it in like 2 days. Absolutely loved it. Veronica is a spunky, rich old woman who's slowly losing her memory, has no heirs at all. Like, seemingly, it's just... And she's trying to she's realizing, like, she has all this money. She's going to be dying soon. She needs to do something with her will. And every day before she goes to bed, she watches this, like, nature-based show with this, like, one of those, like, Steve Irwin type guys. And he does the special on these penguins in Antarctica. And she decides, I'm going to go save the penguins. Because they're just... And it follows this research team too that's watching these penguins, which they're not emperor penguins. I cannot remember what penguins they were. They're smaller than emperor penguins, because that's what I thought. Oh, emperor penguins, but no, these are like smaller versions of emperor penguins. I cannot remember what kind of penguin it was, and I forgot to like even look through to be like, oh yeah, those penguins. But she decides to go, but before she decides to go, she decides to figure out if she actually does have any family left. And lo and behold, her son has died, but she does have a grandson. And the grandson is depressed, smokes pot, just not really doing well in life, doesn't have a real set job. For very specific reasons. He went through a lot of trauma in life, and she kind of sort of blames him and went, okay, no, you're not getting my money. I'm going to go give it to the research team in Antarctica, but I need to see if they actually deserve it. And so this lady literally just gets her housekeeper to send an email to the research team, just straight up saying, I'm going to be on this plane. I'll get there on this boat at this time. I will stay until the next boat leaves. The research team is like, we cannot have an 85-year-old coming to Antarctica. Like, this is not what happens. This is not okay.
I like it because I picture my grandmother actually doing this. She's just being like, no, come pick me up at the airport. I'll be there in 3 hours.
I feel like that's why I liked it, because actually when I was reading it, I was like, I could see Miss grandmother doing this. Like, I could see even my grandmother doing this if she had no family or something. Like, I could see this happening. And yep, she shows up there. There's this one girl on the research team, and she does a little blog about the penguins, and there's these two guys. There's one guy that absolutely hates that she's there and just like is so rude, according to her. But just a really nice female scientist, Terry, so sweet. And eventually she does end up getting sick, which ends up her finally revealing, she adopts a baby penguin. A baby penguin is basically going to die, and she basically forces the research team, which is just there for research, not to like affect no interference kind of thing. She basically forces them to adopt a baby penguin, and she's like, it'll be great for your blog. It's great publicity. I'll take care of it. It's okay. So she adopts the baby penguin. She names the baby penguin after her grandson.
The one that she doesn't like?
The one that she doesn't like. But
it's still
eventually, I know. But eventually you get what her background was and how she had this grandson that she didn't even know existed. Seemingly she had no heirs, and it ended up that during World War II, and she lived in London with her family, and then they ended up, training her up to Scotland, and there she was a young teenage girl, fell in love with somebody she should not have fallen in love with, even though it was really true love and it was a beautiful story, but just at the time she should not have fallen in love with this person. I don't want to give too much away. And she ended up having a son. She ended up having to have that son in a nunnery, and the nuns ended up just adopting her son without telling her. So she didn't even know what they changed his name to or anything. And
I'm sure they didn't keep great records about this.
No.
Yeah, no, it was it's during one of those times in which, it was a really, really bad time to be a single woman, especially a single young woman who was pregnant, and you had basically zero rights. And this is honestly
still not a great time for that.
Yeah, it's still not a great time, but like in this time especially, they could just take your child away with nuns could, not CPS, like nuns could.
Better, like we're better. We're
Yeah.
not great. We're not even really good, but we're better.
We're better.
Than the baseline.
I know. Which oddly, there's a theme, because the next book that I got from this book subscription was The Last Piece by Imogen Clark, and it also had that same idea of somebody was young, single woman, pregnant, and was forced to give out her child to adoption. You're just like,
I mean, to be fair,
a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, like throughout it, she ends up, starting to understand Patrick, and she ends up discovering how she wants to live the rest of her life. She ends up basically playing matchmaker a bit too, and it was just, I don't want to give too much away because I really love it, and I want you guys to read it one day. But I
have prediction. Patrick and the research lady.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's no way it's anyone else. Are you kidding me?
just like the person she ended up pregnant by was a German POW.
Yeah, or something to that effect.
Not German. Close, though.
Okay.
Put a bit of Italian in there. But it was great. No, it's just, I don't know. I love you. You alternate between her point of view, Terry's blog, and then Patrick's point of view, which getting his point of view on things and her point of view on things were just great. Like, just
very different, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's not going as well as.
And eventually she like almost dies, and so Patrick goes down to Antarctica, which is how you get where she goes, I see this Terry and Patrick thing going on. And she literally, because when you're in Antarctica, the ship only comes so often to port. Like, it just, like, once every 3 weeks. And so she literally, like, one time the ship was coming and her and Patrick had to leave, and she's just, like, fainted. She just fainted and woke up and she's like, oh no, what do you mean? We missed the boat. Looks like we had to stay here a little longer.
That is such grandma shenanigans. That is like true grandma shenanigans.
It's
that's how they operate.
Oh, it's shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Yes. It's just.
It wouldn't have been that funny, but it was.
They were, well, you guys are both drinking, so bar lower.
No, it's just
I've not been drinking enough. But we have lowered. I just find it really funny.
But I'm glad that it was good, though, honestly, because you said like you were so hesitant about it. Like you would have chosen to have canceled the subscription before reading it.
I know. I was nervous. I was like, I don't know about reading in the point of view of an 85-year-old woman. Like, I don't know. Penguins, but no, it was so well written. Hazel Prior did a wonderful job. She has another book, apparently, Ellie and the Heart Maker, so I'm probably going to end up buying that one on my own to see. I don't even know what that one's about, but like,
is Prior
very well written.
Is
Prior younger, older? Do we know anything?
Good question.
I'm just curious as to who has the life experiences to write from an 85-year-old point of view.
I feel
she looks like middle-aged, like like maybe 40s. I don't want to judge her black and white photo, but she.
Okay, not
85. But
she's not 85, but she's not 20 either.
Yeah,
she's also.
I think she had a sassy grandma as well.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure it's probably their grandma.
Like, I can't judge. Like I've never been a werewolf or a vampire or a fairy, and I've still managed to write in their point of views all the time. Like, it's just
not to judge, truly just if you thought it was so well written, oftentimes authors do struggle to write from drastically different points of view. Mm-hmm. And so I was curious, if there was something that.
Yeah. I'm going to imagine she knows somebody that is that strong personality type and based it off of that person. Because it is written in first person. So, yeah. Probably somebody she's very close to. But, she also managed to write in the point of view of a young 20-something
male.
Pot-smoking male. So, and I thought she did a convincing job at that, too.
She did her mother and her son.
Yeah, right?
Maybe.
Honestly.
Yeah, I've been watching this interaction for 20 years. I know how this goes.
So, no, quite excellent. I also listened to and would recommend if you like young adult fantasy, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I got that through my library digital app, and I listened to that on my way to work. It's one of those kind of sort of darker fairy stories. So if you like darker stories, it's hit or miss with me, but this one I actually really liked because I really liked the main character. And that's pretty good. That's a trilogy that I listened to the second book, but I did not manage to complete it before my loan was done. And it's a very popular series, just to warn you.
Never hear it again.
So there was a 6-week hold on it. Oh. I had 20 minutes left. 20 minutes left. I thought I had one more day with it. I was like, dang it.
That stuff's the worst. I never want to have it happen absolutely ever to me in an audiobook.
I don't know. Now I'm like, well, good. I guess I'm going to have to start paying for my audiobooks. Darn it. But, and then I'm reading this right now, but I already absolutely love it. It's called Rogue Princess by B.B. Myers. And it is a sci-fi gender-bent telling of Cinderella. And it's an absolute joy to read. It's just so fun. I'm going to, normally, back a few years ago when I wasn't as busy doing things, I probably would have finished this in 6 hours, but because it's just that fun of a read to just sit there and read. I'm absolutely enjoying it. And this I got on bookoutlit.com, which also does not give us any money or anything. This is free advertising to them too, but Bookoutlet.
Conversation.
we need to pick up at least affiliate links for wine and books at this point.
We
Like,
really do.
if it's not a sponsorship, we put cast to the net to possibly get money.
I know, we really should. But yeah, bookoutlet.com is a good way for you to save a lot of money on books that are, they take those books that bookstores haven't sold, so they kind of sort of go back to this. They'll all have like a little black marker on it or something, so you can't get new books from them, but you can get like last year's books from them for significantly discounted. Like, just significant. And kids books too. Oh, my nephew is getting very spoiled with the amount of kids books that I bought him from bookoutlet.com. So.
Honestly, like, and having been a person who works at a bookstore, when you take something that's a new release and then take that black marker to it or red marker, whatever color a franchise chooses to use, it doesn't even mean it's a bad book or anything. It typically means that you just have too much of a thing, and so you're lowering the price and then excluding it from other sales of some sort.
Yeah.
And because like some paperback edition of the book has come out or something like that. It's just going into a different fiction. Like, yeah, it means absolutely nothing for the quality of the book in any way, shape, or form.
No, there are some really good books on that site, so it's just, this is a very fun read. But I can't remember what else. I've got like quite a few. Like, I got classicals. I've had like historicals. I saved up so much room on my bookshelf behind me over there, and now it's starting to get full again because of bookoutlet.com. That's a problem.
No,
I'm gonna need to get other bookshelves.
I feel like you need like a house for the books at this point.
Yes, I really do.
I mean, yeah, but
there's nothing wrong with that, though.
But then I want to live in that house.
Listen, you can live in the one room that's not for books, but the other 3 stories of the house will have to be dedicated to the books.
Okay, yeah. So I'm
probably
got this established. But yeah, so, well, excellent. So those are Jessica's latest reads. The Overachiever.
No, for these ones, do you recommend people buying these ones?
Yes,
okay.
I do. I highly recommend people buy those ones. The Cruel Prince, I just make sure it's your thing, because some people don't like dark young adult fantasy, or they're getting tired of it because it's fairly overdone in young adults. So it's kind of sort of hit or miss whether or not you'll like it or not. Normally I wouldn't like it, but it's because of book talk, they keep on throwing it. And I actually liked Holly Black back when I was in high school. She kind of sort of introduced me to the world of like dark fairies and really inspired me to write fairy fiction and stuff. So that's why I was like, well, I did like Holly Black back when I was young. It was definitely a fun listen. The narrator was really, really good too. So yeah, and then Veronica. How the Penguins Saved Veronica. Solid read. Everybody should read it. I highly recommend.
I like it.
Okay.
All right, Stephen. There is no more nose goes. You have to.
I'm touching your guys' nose on the screens. No, for this one, I had a few different options, same as Jess did for this one to possibly talk about. The one that I think I'll probably talk about because it's one of the more interesting ones. I'll get my honorable mentions out of the way first. So the honorable mention that I thought was the most interesting, but I don't think I would recommend possibly right now, because of content in general, is that there's a series that's from William Gibson, who is one of the pioneers of cyberpunk and a lot of science fiction post the 80s in general, kind of helped to shape science fiction or reshape. But he is doing a new series that starts with a book called Peripheral, and then the one after that was called The Agency. In this series, the science fiction series, there are different timelines for things. It starts off sounding like a normal sci-fi book. Something happens that has weird circumstances behind it, and you're supposed to pick it apart. But it becomes much more complex than that. There's one timeline that's essentially like time prime, I guess, the origin of the other things. And then in this future time period, there's been some big cataclysm thing that's happened. And with their advanced technology that someone very much did some new things with and poked a hole into time with, they get to do this thing that they call, I think it was stubs, where they go back and they pick a certain point to access, and then there's like a branching time where if they go and do something in this thing that they call a stub, none of those things will affect their future. And I mean, it'll play out in its own, but from that point when they access it, time runs concurrently. If it's been 2 hours in their world, it's been 2 hours in that other time, whenever they go to poke into it. And it's just kind of an interesting one because they talk about changing events in that world. Like they're modifying things by like modifying currency, other different things with their AI and other algorithms. They apply that to it, even though they can't put anything physically into that world. And so it was just kind of fun to listen to these books and kind of think of the idea of that's why we live in the timeline we live in. Because someone from this alternate situation fucked with it.
Well, I would really hope that they would stop coming back and trying to refix it because they're just making it worse.
Yeah, no. Every time something happens, like just a new one comes around. But you know, I do appreciate it. They took care of the murder hornets apparently.
Yeah, but they replaced it with like
with coronavirus.
No, coronavirus.
It was before.
What was the crocodiles? The alligators.
I thought they thought that was the crocodiles high on meth or the alligators high on meth. Somebody else.
Yeah, or something there. Yeah, meth alligator.
Meth alligators.
That was a Florida story. It was a cop related story where they're like, you guys need to turn in your meth because we're getting some serious meth alligator problems.
That makes sense. It's just two things they have a surplus in Florida.
Yeah.
So they're gonna overlap.
Alligators everywhere in Florida, and there's also a lot of meth in them.
You can fish for alligators in Florida, or at least you used to be able to.
With meth bait?
No, with hot dogs. Pizzas of hot dog tied to a string.
Yeah, alligators.
Of course.
But that franchise of books, well, a series of books, there's got to be another one after this. They were really interesting. They were definitely casual sci-fi read/listens. There's nothing super crazy going on. It's just fun. William Gibson's not trying to rewrite sci-fi again at this point.
I don't know why, but you were talking about like how they like changed the future, but only in one branch or whatever. And all I could think of was the anime I chose to watch because I hated myself at the time, but Orange. I don't know. You didn't watch that one? That's like basically where like somehow a group of kids send their past selves letters. Never freaking know how the hell they managed to do that.
Well,
in order to prevent one of their friends from committing suicide. So it's very sad, naturally. But
I mean,
but they managed to make the branch. But like
the lake house, they just had to use the mailbox.
Yeah, it was kind of like almost like the lake house, but to yourself, and just whether or not you chose to follow the letter or not, and but I was like, but it's still never like, how did they know to send the letter? Like, how did this?
I mean,
never explains how it works. No,
just that time travel doesn't have to make sense ever. No, just accept it when it happens. Yeah,
it does. No, this is why I won't write a time travel novel because I have to try to make it make sense.
It really doesn't have to. As a real Doctor Who fan, and I've been catching up this week. It doesn't have to make sense.
Tell me why.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, no. The amount I'm trying to write a space novel, and the fact that I really felt like I had to prove that you could somehow create artificial gravity on a spaceship.
No, we have that one figured out.
Really bad for my brain.
No, we have that one pretty much figured out at this point. It's just putting it into practice. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
But no, for my actual book, because I'll skip my other honorable mention. I already went into the other one a good amount. The other one that I think is the one I think I would recommend the most at this point. It's also sci-fi. Lo and behold, crazy sci-fi from Stephen. But no, this one, it's from an author named Max Berry, who has apparently written a good chunk of novels, but this is the first one that caught my attention. Came out a few months ago, and it's called Providence. And the cover was one where I was like, this looks awful. Like, I hate this cover. But I saw through the cover.
Wow.
And I persevered this time.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know that one that's a departure for me at this point. But yeah, in this world, I should say the thing that caught my attention listening to a sample from the book is that they actually start with the beginning of the book, which doesn't often happen with a sample of an audiobook. It's usually some other later section, like when you open a book and they have a few paragraphs. It's a later chunk. Yeah. But for this one, they were talking about first contact with a brand new alien race, which since I was a kid has been one of my favorite beginning of a premise of anything. Ender's Game was my favorite book when I was a kid. I love the idea of first contact.
I was going to say, I feel like Ender's Game is still your favorite book based off of how frequently it comes up in our conversations.
They were really good books just in general.
They were. No, they were.
I hate Orson Scott Card, though.
I know.
So I needed something to dethrone him and push him out. This is not that, but it did a good job.
J.K. Rowling
gave a valiant effort.
Yeah. No, they did a good job. But no, for this one, the beginning of the thing has them encountering this brand new alien race that's entirely foreign. They're not some bipedal organism or anything. They don't have a language that we understand through universal translators or any crap like that. But over the course of the book, these things that don't have any kind of malice that we can see, like we truly do not understand what's going on with them. And anytime a character tries to ascribe any human motivation to even their body language in any moment, they think like, oh no, this one, I get this one now. And then, oh nope, I do not get that one now. They're still super evil, but they're still not evil. We just still do not understand each other.
So the people that are trying to solve this problem, are they all like psychiatrists and stuff? Like they didn't get like an animal behavioralist or anything?
This is where it gets even more interesting. So
what?
They because the aliens that have made contact with humans are from so far away. Mm-hmm. Humans to try to make contact or try to win this conflict that has become. Huh?
They send babies.
No, goodness, no. They're all babies.
I think you send them to space because they got to go so far away that you want to send the babies so that way they're grown up by the time they get there.
No, not even that one. They actually send a ship that is capable of some very fast travel. But it is piloted by AI. And this AI, in no way, shape, or form, really cares about the crew being there at all. The ship entirely works by itself, but the company that makes this AI and these ships and everything knows that you have to have people on the ship. You have to market this whole idea of this war to get the money, to pay for the ships, to be profitable, even though they have a quote-unquote good cause of trying to beat these guys in space, so they send this crew of people who, over the course of the novel, and it's very early on that this idea is posited, it's no spoiler whatsoever, the whole crew is just selected essentially because they'll look great on social media, and they have them sending things back to Earth, like to air and further the cause of trying to continue having these ships built and sent out.
This is some very Black Mirror, like, let's take this premise to logical conclusion.
I love this.
It's an interesting one, and honestly, that's the way that stuff goes.
Yeah.
So no, everyone that's on the ship, there's one person in particular who, no, that might be a little too spoilery. No, I won't say that one. Everyone has individual challenges and unique personalities. So much of this book is just character interactions and dealing with the situation that they're actually in and the implications of that situation for this different personality type. Makes sense. Like you have like a super headstrong kind of person who's very much like alpha male bro dude kind of person who's just stuck in a place where he literally has no effect whatsoever on the things that this ship with crazy AI guns, like it just targets everything and blows it out of the sky. I mean, honestly. So they have that kind of person, a person who is the quote unquote commander of this whole group of 4 people that are on the ship, and that person they know. They're very much in on what's happening here. They've led people before, and they know that they were recruited to be on the ship. And there's no other reason to put this person on the ship after the way that their career had gone. Another person who is very much the kind of like influencer, social media person who's always putting out like, hey guys, just doing my run out here out here in space, because otherwise bone density, you lose it.
You lose it. Who knew?
And they present this
running really is gonna help, but okay.
But no, that person is also the person who's the counselor on the ship. But being the biggest social media person and being a counselor, I don't know if those two necessarily go together, because you know that you're putting up the biggest facade.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, most counselors and therapists are putting up a facade, whether or not they're social media influences or not. Like
that one's fair.
They are just as messed up as you are. Trust me.
My bigger thing would be like, how am I going to trust you not to put this on social media, since that's your entire life and you put literally everything on social media? So any of my conversations are going to end up on social media. And
people don't seem to take advantage of the counselor a lot in the first place in this, but I think that is also about the personality types. But no, and then there's the other character who is, by most metrics, the main character of the book. And he's an engineer who is being sent to go be on a ship that, like, for all intents and purposes, repairs itself and everything. It's made to be self-sustaining. And I don't know, it was such an interesting thing. The entire book being just character interactions and the implication of character interactions is a very cool narrative exercise, if nothing else.
Well, and I imagine it feeds in, because if you can't even communicate with somebody whose language you speak, how are you going to communicate with an alien race that you know nothing about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the point of the book, there's no one else who's made any kind of contact with this race since that first very negative interaction when they first made contact. And that was also one of my favorite parts of Ender's, like all of the Ender books in general, is just the fact that there's this core misunderstanding between humans and this alien race. But in that one, they do obviously like make contact of sorts, and so much of it is sorted out. Ender makes good on things and helps them be reseated and come back around over the course of the books. This does not have that kind of thing.
Cool.
So no, that was Providence by Max Berry.
It was on my list to read from when it came out. I actually
Providence
have it
was?
on my...
Nice.
I don't know what it was about it. I was like, oh, that looks like fun to read. So now that I have somebody else who has read it and recommends it, I shall read it.
I think it's also a nice one if you're just looking for something to play while you do something else, because it is told from the different perspectives. It's a nice, easy one to break up.
Okay.
Yeah. If I have to just mention one other thing real fast, it's this graphic novel, PTSD, by a very complicated name, Guillaume Singelin.
Okay.
But yeah, or I guess Guillaume. I don't know. It's probably like the French version of William. I'm looking at it. But yeah, they're a person who's done a lot of other graphic novels. They're an award-winning graphic novel writer, artist. I mostly picked it up initially because, again, the cover is so good. On this one in particular, sorry for anyone who's just listening to this, but this cover here, it actually is a cutout. And so it has this hole in it with this really nice like paper kind of thing in the inside of it. Like nice spot gloss on the outside. And I already follow this person on social media for their other graphic novel works. So even though this is a lot more like heavy subject material, I mean, it's called PTSD. I was very interested to see what they would do if they weren't doing something with somebody else collaboratively.
Nice. All right. So, dear listener, watcher, Patreon supporter, now you got several books to comb through, and hopefully we've intrigued you with something that will get you to pick up a book and turn some pages.
Yeah.
On that note, Jessica, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter as JM Bailey Writes.
And Stephen, where can people find you?
You can find me across all social media as Peppermint Gentleman or Peppermint Gent.
And you can find me with the rest of Geek Elite Media at geekelitemedia.com, our Facebook page /Geek Elite Media. This episode is strictly for our Patreon subscribers, so thank you so much for joining us and for subscribing. We appreciate it. If you are interested in having us do a side note on anything specific, feel free to shout out at us. We're always looking for great ideas. But until next time, this is The Love of Pages, reminding you to always keep turning the page and always remember to geek out.
Geek out.